If you get totally disconnected from nature, I think something in us dies. The first deer I ever saw was when I was 6 years old. And unfortunately, it was a dead deer. It ended up being a female fawn that had been shot by an illegal hunter, a poacher. And I went and got my dad, and we drug it up to one of our barns and saved the hide, skinned it out. And when I would go do my chores, the hide was in the barn, I would rub that hide right where it might be fantasized that maybe I'd see another deer someday. That's how rare they were. That snowy morning when I was in first grade was the defining moment in my path to becoming a wildlife biologist. So this was early mid-'80s, and hunters knew about scrapes, but there's a lot of theories, as you can imagine. There was no real data on it. So I spent a lot of time hunting over scrapes, and I thought what I was seeing, my observations, was different than a lot of the stories I was being told. I conned my major professor into letting me study scrapes, wrote my thesis proposal, all that kind of stuff. And I was gonna climb trees and just watch and take notes for 2 years. And I'd started getting some data and some pretty cool observations, and the local Safari Club International chapter, I say local, Kansas City, 3 hours away, said, hey, we're gonna have a banquet, we need someone to speak about wildlife. And I showed my 35mm slides. I sat down after my short presentation, I go in the hallway, and there's Mr. Bill Goodson, he looks professional, and he said, hey man, my name's Bill, I'm an infrared engineer. I help patent the police radar guns. I want to give you something I think can help you. Well, that was the first trail camera. This was active. It shot a beam. If the beam's broken, it's going to snap a picture of a 35mm camera. You had 35 pictures. And it was big and bulky and clunky. And man, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. I was the first researcher ever to get pictures of deer at scrapes without being there. And that became the first marketed trail camera called Trail Master. And I published my thesis on that data, 1,000 some odd pictures, and it rang the bell in the deer world, I'm just gonna tell you.
Oh my God, there's 2 pine trees. My wife's gonna be so happy. There's a shortleaf pine, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Shortleaf pine right there. There's only been one on the whole property. There's another one. I've walked by it 1,000 times. Okay, because pines are aromatic and deer rub on prefer aromatic species, so that scar, that aroma tells them, hey, something rubbed, I'm gonna come over there, it's like perfume, right? I'm so happy, man. This is cool. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
You think about that pine all you want. All right, camera.
Rolling.
And action.
This was clearly used for years. You can see the layers of scar tissue. That's called a traditional rub, where they come back year after year. And then you can see where an antler tine really jutted up right here and just dug in right here. It's really clear. A lot of history right here. A lot of different bucks have used this.
I think we all need to be good stewards, or let's define again the good use or wise use of the resource. And you may think, man, where I live, whatever, that really doesn't factor, but we all use air, we all use water, and we all consume some kind of substance. The air, water, and soil cycles all work together to literally sustain everything on this planet. And so there's too much of something, not enough of another. That is poor conservation, not a wise use of a resource. Everyone needs to feel their role. And if too many people aren't feeling their role as a good steward of the resource, things get out of balance. Now we have education and we know better than do that. And I strongly feel that we all, no matter what our role is in that cycle, need to be good stewards of the resource. Trace and I had been married a few years, had a couple of kids, and we're both farm kids. Wanted more. We had 13 acres and wanted more land, couldn't afford it. And we come back home to visit my parents in this area and found this old beat up property for sale that had been a cattle ranch. And to be honest, in all my career, working from New Zealand to Canada, I've never walked a property that had so many cattle skeletons on it where they've starved to death. That's how bad it was. And the rancher was not a good steward of the resource. And so we got a deal on it. It was, no chance of it ever being anything. It's all we could afford, but it was more acres than what we had. And I just set up a goal to take my education, whatever I've been taught, and apply those principles and see if we can make it better. And so we started making improvements slowly and surely as budget and time would allow. And someone on the way said, "Oh, you're really proving stuff here," and that's where the term the proving grounds come from. And it's been a way for us to take land that wasn't high quality like Iowa farmland and show that you could really do good for wildlife and have great family hunting and teach other people techniques. And that's the whole thing behind the proving grounds. If it will work here, because it's such a poor site, it will work in so many other places. And then we produce a show called GrowingDeer, and we make it every week, and that airs to next week, 52 weeks out of the year. We don't film 5 and then go fishing for a while, right? And we've been doing that for 15 years, so 2009 we started. If we're planting a food plot, we film that. If we're preparing for a prescribed fire, making a fire break, we film that. If we're hunting, which I love to do, we're filming that. If we're getting ready to hunt, putting a scope on or whatever, we're filming that. We share what we're learning so other people can get the full benefit of the reference. I think a lot of people don't realize that this 1/2 inch trigger finger is the most important management tool we have. We make a lot of decisions. Do we harvest a critter that will help the herd in the future? It's important to realize that we harvest wildlife populations at the population level, not the individual level. We take care of individual health as humans, as we should. Wildlife populations should be managed at the population level. Too many critters, not enough groceries, we need to harvest some more. That population's suffering a little bit, maybe a bad winter, we need to back that trigger finger off and pick the binos up and enjoy it a little bit. We vote or we manage with our trigger finger.
I think that one right there.
They
Almost
split.
like they split.
That's what, exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, we can almost
I like it on that Y right there the best.
just catch them coming in.
Yeah, that way we increase our odds of seeing who's coming and going.
Yeah.
Interesting what the camera shows us is happening here as far as travel direction and time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will let us know how to approach the area without alerting deer.
Yeah.
I think preparing for hunting is about like anything in life. You need to be mentally, physically, and spiritually ready. For me, physical, you gotta be able to get into the stand. That may not be much, maybe a lot. You gotta be able to drag the deer out of the woods or get it home in shape enough to use your weapon of choice accurately. I'm gonna prepare with my weapon of choice. I'm gonna get my gear all ready. Mentally, I'm gonna be calm. I'm gonna be able to make that shot at that moment of truth, that moment of pressure. And spiritually, to me, it goes deeper than just deer hunting. For me personally, I'm gonna take a life. I'm gonna share that meat with my family and friends. And I don't think there's any bigger part of being spiritual than being respectful. And I'm gonna make it a fair chase hunt. I like quality gear that I've practiced with and know intimately, so at the moment of truth, I'm gonna take the shot. All I'm thinking about is my shot placement, my follow through. I don't want any questions about my gear. I like my equipment to be simple and tough. Burris is known to be quality or a legacy product. I want something that's solid, that works, it's got a reputation. There's 5 known stages of a hunter. The first is just see a critter, right? That's always, my first deer made a lifelong impact on me. And then you want to harvest one. I didn't say big, I didn't say gender, you want to harvest one. Then you want to harvest a lot. You want to maybe fill your tags. And then you want a bigot. Now we're getting towards the end, you want those experiences. I hope we all get to the state of experience. That doesn't mean you've had to harvest big deer. My dad lived 86, he's my best friend, and I knew my dad was going down. I took him on his last hunt. It's bow season. Odds slim. Crossbow, got him one. Ground blind. We carried him in the blind. Wrapped him with a sleeping bag so he wouldn't get too cold. Stayed up with cancer. Big old 2.5-year-old buck come out. One I would normally say, no one shoot this deer. This could be my dad's last chance. He didn't really care, he was just spending time with his son out there, you know. He missed that buck, chip shot by 3 feet. Big old smile, because we'd had that last hunt together. It's not the harvest, sometimes. It's the experience. And bonding. I raised my daughters hunting, we're a hunting family. But all the lessons of hunting, life, new life fawns, work, improving habitat, work reward, success, camaraderie, providing for your family, nurturing, death. Death is a part of life. You're taking the life of an animal. You need to respect that. And in hindsight, I can't think of a better way to raise a balanced child. I realize that people don't care for stuff they don't understand. And my goal is to care for wildlife. So I think sharing education is so much better than legislating you will or you won't do this. And people take care of stuff they value. And they value stuff they understand and like. I think that's why I love what I do as part of conservation.